Hello, today we're going to be realizing the floor of religion, but first let's go over the decks. Starting off, we have Olivia with Unlock, Graze the Grass, Multi-Slash, Fire Dragon Slash, Love the City, and Prescript, Identify Weak Point, Argue, Kick, and Shoot Trigon formation. Then for passives, Double Haulers from Sweepers, Fur from Leo, and Lock Potential from the Index Proxies. Next we have Purple Tier, and we'll be using Slash and Guard Stance for this fight. Slash has Graze the Grass, 2 Sharpened Blade, 3 Snakes, 3 Love the City, and Guard has Ominous Power, 2 Leap, 2 Energy Conversion, 3 Overcharge, and Beyond. For passives, I have Mind Hauler from Sweepers, Triple R Suit, Compressed Charge, Stimulated Muscle Force, and Mio's Press from Mio's page, and Keeping Strides from his Vise Fixer. Next, we have Xiao, Unlock Graze the Grass, Multi-Slash, Fire Dragon Slash, Love the City, and Prescript, Emotional Turbulence, Identify Weak Point, and Raging Storm Love. And for passives, Volatile Passion from Unstable Page of Crying Children, Lock Potential from Index Proxies, and Double Haulers from the Sweepers. Next, we have Yan, very similar deck, just Raging Storm Love is now Destroyed Blade. And for passives, Locked Potential from Index Proxies, Double Hauler from Sweepers, and Fur from Leo. Finally, we have Nikolai, Graze the Grass, Multi-Slash, Bulky Impact, Quick Suppression, Will of the City, and Prescript, Battle Command, Concentration, and Identify Weak Point. And for passives, I have Bionic Charge, Synchronized Hull, and Maximum Crash from Maxime's page, Bionic Charge, Focusing Antlers from Reindeer, and Keeping Stride from Izvai. Alright, let's get into the fight. Alrighty. So, we're going to start off with 4 Scythe Apostles here. They are Pierce and Blunt, Damage Ineffective and Injured, but they're Slash Damage Weak and Slash Stagger Fatal. Let's see. The passives don't matter too much, except they will target the Library with the lowest HP. In this case, it is the Xiao, although Nikolai also has 101. They get 2 power against librarians afflicted with Revelation, which we do not have. And their HP doesn't fall below 1 because they will die at the start of the scene after they get dropped to 1 HP. We also have Angela here, who will help you sometimes. After you kill one of the apostles, they will cast a Baptism, which is a 1-to-1 that heals you. I'll go a bit more into it when it comes up, and after you kill 12 apostles, we will move on to the next phase. So for pages, we have Teach Us, 2 3-7 blocks, and the 3-6 slash. This is their most throwaway page. Clash into it for emotion coins, or ignore it, it doesn't particularly matter. I will follow a 3-8 slash, or a 3-8 block, sorry, and then a 6-10 slash that inflicts 4 fragile on hit next scene. This one is more important, but it is somewhat hard to beat, 6-10 on 2, especially right at the start of the fight. But beating it is somewhat important because you'll be hit with 4 fragile if you don't, which is not great, but not the end of the world. Let's see. Thy Will Be Done, 4-7 slash, 2-7 slash, 2-6 slash. This is the most important one to clash into, but it's not hard to beat. 2-cost utility, Fire Dragon Slash and such, as well as your 3-cost bombs or Will of the Prescript will take care of this handily. I Shall Preserve Thee, 3-8 slash, 3-7 slash, no effects. This one, pretty much most stuff. Will of the City even will work. I think that's everything, yeah. So there'll be 4 Scythe Apostles, and then after there'll be 2 Scythe, and then 2 of the Pierce ones, and then 2 Pierce and 2 Blunt. So let's start off by switching to Slash, and then we'll just be clashing in pretty much as normal. Note that if your Hokma dies, then you fail the reception, or the realization, but no one should really be dying except for scripted deaths. But yeah, try and make sure that your librarians don't just randomly die before they need to, so redirect away from the Xiao in this case, and should be fairly easy this section. Alright, for abnormality pages, these two don't really matter because I don't have anyone on the block archetype, so I'll just take 13th Tall. But when I was just doing this for the first time to clear and get my strategies, it came into effect like once, and every other time it was used on someone who was already on 1 HP, so whatever. More of the same here. They used all their pages, so there isn't really too much to talk about, but again, just make sure you're clashing into stuff to get motion coins, and that you don't just randomly let your librarians die. Alright, more abnos. Time is like fine, but not really compatible with this video format, and also not really compatible with my brain. So I'll just take one of these. Blue and Bloody Wings is pure upside. And I guess I'll put it on my purple tier because she has the most block dice generally. So here, again, same stuff. Gonna try and kill this apostle. And these two for sure, and this one might not die, but these three should for sure die. Alright, so here we go, 2 more Scythe Apostles and then the Spear Apostles. These ones are damage, weak, and stagger fatal to pierce and slash injured. And here we can talk about Baptism real quick. So it's a ranged page 1-to-1, and on use recovers the HP and set resistance hurt by 1, and gives them 1 strength, endurance, and haste next scene. And then for the Spear Apostles, we got some new pages. The Will of the Lord Be Done is a fairly hard page to beat, 6-10, 6-10 both pierce, but no effects. The damage increases by the target's bleed, but there isn't bleed on these guys. There's a little bit of bleed here with this page, but not too much, so use a block die if you need to, or just tank it, I guess. Let Thy Light Lead Me, a 4-7 pierce, 4-7 pierce, that gets too powerful for her as a status ailment. So strictly easier to beat than the Will of the Lord Be Done, because even if you have a status ailment, it's a 6-9, nice. So again, block it if you need to, but this one you can actually beat with like Emotional Turbulence, identify weak points, etc. For He Is Holy, offensive dice gain power based on target's bleed, roll 6-9, and on Clash Win, destroys all the dice on the target, and it has a 3-7 block counter, block counter. So this one is also, again, like these are all like kind of hard to beat normally, but if you have a bit of strength stacking, that becomes much easier. And Let Thy Light Lead Me. So I'm going to stay on Slash Stance for one more scene and focus down these two with my purple tier, and then I'll switch to guarding and use overcharges to kill the Spear Apostles as they show up. Identify weak points works really well here because they change to pierce dice, which is good. But generally, this entire section is just clash and don't randomly die. Alright. So here, Nostalgic Sound is pretty good, but it mutes the music, which is annoying, so I think I'll just take Penance, and I'll put it here. Alright. So after this animation plays, there'll be 2 more Spear Apostles, and then 2 Staff Apostles, which are the blunt ones. I realized I missed one of the pages from the Spear Apostles, so hopefully they'll be casting here. They are not, but the block and 2 pierces, and it was not hard to beat. So for the Staff Apostles, they're blunt weak, and let's see. Thou wilt light my candle is a 5-9, 3-9, 3-7, all blunts, and the first 2 on hit will inflict 2 disarm. Note that all of the Staff Apostles pages are ranged, so if you have a strong 1, or like a block and a strong 1, or something like that, or a strong block, strong 2, I guess, then it'll be good to clash into any of these pages. Augury Kick works quite well. Give Us Rest, 4-8, 4-8 blunts that inflicts some stagger damage to the target. This one is not too hard to beat and can use mostly anything. Alright, so 4 more baptisms. Here I'm gonna kill the Staff Apostles, maybe leave the Spear Apostles alive to see if they'll cast the page so I can go over it. But if not, it's not too huge of a deal in the end. Alright, so now we move on to the next phase. Against Paradise Lost, there'll be 1 more Spear Apostle. Couldn't help me in my time of need, whatever. 1 more Staff Apostle, and then Paradise Lost will be casting 2 Rise and Serve Me, and 1 Fear Thou Not. So let's start with Fear Thou Not. It's 3 6-6 block counter dice, and on use will give 1 Strength, Haste, and Endurance to a random ally. And Rise and Serve Me is a 7-7 blunt die that's on use. The targeted librarian will die at the end of the scene. If you try and get cute and redirect both of these to the same librarian so that only one of them dies, it'll kill a random one. So I've decided prior to this that my Yan and my Nikolai will be the sacrificial lambs. And we'll finish the fight with Purple Tear, Xiao, and Olivier. Alright, pages, again, Nostalgic Sound mutes the music, which I don't like. Silence doesn't really do much, I don't care about either of these, so Martyr it is. So we'll die, and from their corpses will rise 2 Guardian Apostles. So I'm not sure whether they take on the resistances of the librarians that died, or if it's just Pierce and Blunt respectively, but they have some passives that don't really matter, if I'm going to be honest with you. Like I didn't even read them. For their pages, thou art his son, 4 to 8 block, and then a 6 to 12 slash that inflicts 4 fragile on hit next scene. So this is an upgrade version of one of the Scythe guys. 6 to 12 is somewhat hard to beat, but we have Overcharge plus Mio's Prowess, we have True Trigon Formation, and, you know, not going to be too difficult at this stage. Lord Shuas, 3 to 8, 3 to 8 both slash, and gives 3 endurance to Paradise Lost next scene, which will make all of these Fear Thou Nots roll 9. And Rise and Serve, 2 4 to 8 block dice, and the 3 to 7 slash, so again, upgrade version of one of the slash pages. Thou Art the King, 5 to 8, 4 to 8, 4 to 7, all slash, and all inflicting 2 bleed on hit. This one is, again, somewhat harder to beat, but not too much of an issue. We still have our 3-cost bombs and such. Now Thou Art their Son, now the Rise and Serve. So, also note that Paradise Lost will have 10 protection and stagger protection, which means that they're probably not going to be taking much damage, but we still have burn to apply, so we can attack them with our Shao, and might get some damage there. Alright. Let's see, anything new? Yes, we have something new. I am thy savior. So this is a mass individual with 2 7 to 7 blunts that inflicts 4 stagger damage on hit. And on use will will resurrect a suspended apostle next scene and inflicts a random character damage by this page with Revelation. I don't know what that one is because I've never gotten hit by this. And neither should you because it's only 7 to 7. So here we're just going to kill this last apostle, or these last 2, this guy's staggered, and then focus the rest onto Paradise Lost because the prot is down to only 5. And then on the next scene we'll kill the resurrected apostle and then dump everything else onto Paradise Lost once again. Alright, so Spear Apostle, there we go, we can finally get there. That we should be with him, 3 to 8 block, and then 3 to 7, 3 to 6 pierce, so yeah, like this is super worthless. Any 2-cost value page will do it, even just like your random counter dice will probably do it. Alright, and now note that Paradise Lost has no protection and is fail to everything. So this is the point in which we will try and kill them in this scene. Alright. So the rest of this fight is basically just scripted. Do not deny me. 66 to 66. That's on you staggers all librarians, and everyone other than patron librarian dies. So this happens. Everyone dies. Everyone dies. Maybe. There we go. They die. And then this one, mass individual, 6 to 6, 6 to 6, 6 to 6, 6 to 6 to 66. But our guy has 100 prot and stagger protection, so we just get to see some cool little animations before we win. And soon that will happen. here, penitence, and then boom, winner. So overall, this fight is not incredibly difficult, and it generally basically only has 2 phases. Yeah, mostly just pretty animations and stuff. Honestly, I can't even like think of what to say because the fight is just like that simple. Just like match the resistances, and then don't just like randomly have 2 librarians that don't do anything survive and have 2 librarians that do stuff die to the scripted deaths, I guess. But yeah, that's the fight. After realizing the floor of religion, you'll get access to these abnormality pages. Confession is a pretty solid panic button. This page fully restores the stagger resist of all librarians, recovering them from stagger if they're staggered, and purges all status elements. After that, all librarians take 2 less stagger damage from attacks. The persistent effect isn't very strong, but again, this page is a great panic button. If a bunch of your librarians get staggered, then this page can bring you back into it. Baptism adds a combat page, Baptism, to the selected librarian's hands that on play recovers 6 HP to the target and gives them 1 endurance, but can only be played once per scene. This page can give you some extra health when you need it, which is nice for your survivability, especially if you have some extra light lying around for some reason. Advent is a pretty cool page. Its base effect gives 1 additional light to the selected librarian each scene, but if that librarian also has Baptism, the healing and endurance effect get doubled. Sentinel is an interesting page. The selected librarian will no longer be the target of attacks as long as there are other valid targets, and if the selected librarian is alive at the end of the reception, then you get an extra book for every enemy defeated. This page is pretty weak for a tier 3 and is mostly used to get extra books while farming. If it wasn't a tier 3 page, then it might have seen some use in weird strategies involving stuff like offensive position, but as it stands, it doesn't do too much to help you win. Divine Power makes it so that while the selected librarian is alive, all other allies get 2 protection each scene. Additionally, if the selected librarian has used White Knight's Ego page, all allies absorb instances of 3 or less damage. This page can make your librarians quite tanky, as the protection helps towards reducing damage to 3, which is solid if you're at parity or behind. If you're already winning, then Apostles might be more to your liking. While the selected librarian is alive, all other allies deal 2 to 7 bonus damage with attacks. Additionally, if the selected librarian has used Baptism 12 or more times during the reception, the dice that your librarians play gain 1 power. The second effect is harder to trigger since it means that the battle has lasted at least 13 scenes, but in long fights, this is the offensive version of Divine Power and probably what I would take most often. In addition to those 6 abnormality pages, you'll get access to these 5 ego. Heaven is a 3-cost range page rolling 14 to 25 that on hit seals the speed die of the target next scene. This page houses 1-die pages, and the steal effect is solid as well. Dead Silence is a 3-cost melee page that rolls 12 to 20 that destroys the opponent's next die on clash win. Additionally, on use, the user will gain a speed die for the next scene. This is similar to Heaven in that it's a 3-cost with 1 die that changes the speed die balance for 1 scene. This page rolls about 3.5 lower on average, but can host 2-die pages very well. Sound of a Star is a 6-cost mass summation rolling 25 to 35 blunt that on hit deals 10 damage and stagger damage if the user's stagger resistance is above 50%. This page is expensive, but quite devastating if you can get the extra effect off. Its counterpart is Penitence, a 5-cost mass individual rolling 8 to 16 pierce that on use recovers 15 HP and stagger to all librarians. If your librarians are running low on HP, then this can give you some respite. Finally, Paradise Lost is a 6-cost page with 2 6 to 16 block dice. Additionally, on use, the user synchronizes with White Knight for the next 3 scenes, while all the other librarians become Apostles. The Apostles are all uncontrollable, so let's go over White Knight's pages first. Their light regen of choice is Fear Thou Not. It rolls 6 to 9 blunt and restores 1 light. Benediction is a 1-cost rolling 6 to 9 blunt 6 to 6 block, and on combat start gives 1 strength to all other allies. I Am Thy Savior is also 1-cost rolling 6 to 9 slash 6 to 6 block and restoring 6 HP and stagger to all allies on combat start. Finally, Behold My Power is a 6-cost single-use mass individual rolling 6 to 9 pierce 6 to 9 blunt. Additionally, on use, the user restores 6 HP and stagger for each enemy present. These pages roll somewhat low and are mostly there to support the 4 apostles. Speaking of, There are 4 different apostles, each with 3 cards. Let's start with the Scythe Apostle. They have Thy Will Be Done, which rolls 8 to 15 slash, inflicting 3 bleed on hit, then 3 to 7 block. I Will Follow Thee, rolling 4 to 8 block, 7 to 12 slash, inflicting 1 bleed on hit, and I Shall Preserve Thee, rolling 5 to 7, 3 to 7 slash, with both dice inflicting 1 bleed. Overall, I Shall Preserve Thee is the weakest of the 3, but the other 2 have some really great clashing potential. Next we have the Spear Apostle. They have For He Is Holy, rolling 9 to 18 pierce, and has an above average block counter die. The Will of the Lord Be Done rolls 6 to 8, 3 to 6 pierce, and I Shall Devote Unto Thee, which rolls 5 to 10 block, 5 to 7 pierce, 4 to 7 block. This page is a bit more hit or miss, as For He Is Holy has the potential for huge bloats, but is otherwise just fine. The Staff Apostle has 3 ranged pages. Give Us Rest rolls 5 to 7, 3 to 7 blunt, both inflicting 2 stagger damage on hit. Thou Will Light My Candle rolls 7 to 10 blunt, 3 to 6, 3 to 6 block, with the blunt die inflicting 1 disarm on hit. And Thy Words Come Unto Me rolls 8 to 12 blunt, 3 to 6, 3 to 6 block, with the blunt inflicting 1 feeble on hit. I guess all the apostles will have a 2 offensive die page that sucks, with the other 2 being fine, because it's the same story here, and the same story for the Guardian Apostle, who has Thou Art the King, rolling 5 to 8, 4 to 7 slash, Thou Art His Son, rolling 3 to 7 block, 7 to 10 slash, that inflicts 1 fragile on hit, and the Will Thou That We Command Fire, which rolls 8 to 16 blunt, 4 to 7 block, and gives 1 protection to all allies next scene on use. Overall, the synchronization is the most unique, but probably isn't worth using unless your librarians are running low on light, because all of the apostles pages either cost 0 or 1, but clash quite nicely, so it can give you a couple scenes of good clashing for little light. Of course, using this ego is necessary to trigger effects that need you to use White Knight's ego, so take that into consideration. Overall, I'd start with Penitence and Sound of a Star as mass attacks, with the last one being situational, defaulted to Dead Silence. If you need to use White Knight's ego, then take Paradise Lost, but I'd personally avoid taking Heaven as it's not as strong as Dead Silence in most situations. In the next video, we'll be greeting the uninvited guests. Note that once you start this journey, you'll be unable to burn books and such until after you've completed the game, so make sure you've done all of the realizations and have at least 20 copies of all the pages you like, such as Will of the City. I'll see you soon, and as always, thank you for watching.